This game is underrated, and I honestly think that it's actually ahead of its time. This practical space opera really is slept on. I was rereading some of the reviews on this game from around the time that the game came out, and a lot of the issues taken with this game mostly stem from the controls, but, you know, someone coming back from these games practically 2 decades later, I can't seem to agree with them. Sort of how people took a gripe with the original Super Mario 64 camera setup, confused new players at the time. This game's target system has been done and pretty much perfected following the release of this. When I say the game was overpromised, I'm really underselling how much was promised here. This was supposed to be a planned trilogy and a spin-off with a planned spin-off comics. I could have totally seen this becoming a titan of the time. Hell, even the box art for the game advertises winning $1 million through the Xbox Live feature. I truly believe that it's unfortunate that this isn't remembered as one of the better games on the console instead of just another third-person shooter of the era.
Shuttle 329, we need you to enter a final approach vector and dock. We even lit up the hangar for you. That's right, you found it. Give that kid a prize. Just bring it in nice and easy.
As much as I could sit here and explain the things about this game that I think are good, it's not without fault. The overall performance of the game leaves a lot to be desired. I'm planning on cutting most of the slowdown as much as I can, but sometimes it's impossible just to cut out. When the games load in and everything is stable, the game runs pretty well. But the beginnings of cutscenes and when you use a lot of your psychic powers, the game slows to a crawl. So much of the later game, with a lot of enemies and the power use, feels almost like I'm playing through a PowerPoint project. Uh, I could see how this could turn off most people, but if you're able to look past it, everything else is actually pretty darn good.
Halt! These are ours! Status report.
We've just secured the main ports and transit points of Avernus. The Eastern Rebels' defenses are crumbling, and their seeker support's falling back to the islands. We've won, Commander.
This victory will not be complete until every last Seeker claw is torn from our world. We have much to do.
The gameplay is a bit repetitive early on and in later bits of the game. For the most part, you find yourself running and gunning akimbo style with weapons you find on the ground or given to you per the level. There's a bit of a leveling system involved in here as well, sort of like how in Nioh you level up your familiarity with a weapon, and the higher your familiarity is, the better you do with the weapon. This all comes to a head, however, once the psychic powers are introduced. At some point, the powers almost took precedence over any of the guns lying around. I mean that with almost no exaggeration. I find myself dropping the guns to use the powers as often as I could. Fortunately, these powers also work on a familiarity level system as well. For example, there's like a push, and the higher the level is, the wider the cone of effect is, and the icicle throw throws more and does more damage to targets. These powers also work on a cooldown system, but at some point, the use greatly outweighs the cost of the power. The honest biggest complaint I can levy to this game is probably the vehicle sections, though I can see how some of the hardware limitations, these weren't that good aside from the first one, which to be fair is mostly a case of spectacle over substance. Under the story. This is another example of this game being overlooked. The story is really good, although maybe a bit cliche, but the narrative was not boring to sit through. Mostly in order, there was an omen that humans, or at least you, are a member of a chosen species that had the most untapped potential of these psychic powers. Another species of aliens find out about that, and they see it to be heresy, so they decide to wipe humanity out, starting with the orbital space stations, which happens to have the most important human characters at the start of the game. Depending on the action you take here, the ending could change, but the gist of it is that you and the person you save end up being some of the last few humans alive. In my playthrough of the game, I had chosen to save the girl and end up making it back to Earth. After a few levels, the Earth explodes, leaving you and a few other humans alive, with the new introduced alien species that kind of like are Yoda to Skywalker. But overall, that's pretty much how that early game goes, and some of the middle of the game. More plot things happen as you train for revenge, and the mystery of the human genocide is thusly revealed to you. I'm mostly paraphrasing here, but essentially you enact justice on the species that wronged the humans through the intergalactic trial. However, the person you didn't save at the beginning of the game comes back looking all biomechanical, and a boss fight ensues. But for some reason, you end up teleporting yourself on an ice planet unconscious, leaving the ending open to sequels, which is unfortunate because, as we all know, that never came to fruition. The music and art directions I have odd feelings about. On one hand, the art direction with characters is odd. The character models are elongated and they look almost uncanny, but on the other, the music here is really good, so I'm torn. The cutscenes are a real treat here to watch when it's pre-rendered, but for some reason, when something is happening that they can use the in-game engine to animate, they do, which normally wouldn't be an issue, but for some reason the camera feels like I'm using the Halo 3's map creator camera, which feels unbelievably janky. Or, better comparison, more of like a Call of Duty spectator feature. But this music is almost full of absolute bangers. I usually re-listen to soundtracks while I'm writing the scripts to these videos, and every once in a while I find myself looking over double-checking to see if this is even from a video game from the 2000s. There are a few duds here and there, but overall, the music is really good on this playlist. These mostly sound almost like a choir or orchestral in arrangement. Final thoughts about this game is that this really is a hidden gem. I would have loved to see this game succeed and have sequels, but we all live in a bad timeline, so, you know. A thought I had while playing this game was that this could have been a stellar Star Wars game. The powers in this game are almost well suited for Star Wars aesthetic. Even the plot could have been rewritten to fit the lore, or better yet, make the game a non-canon experience like the Force Unleashed games were on the PS3 and Xbox 360. Closing out though, this game deserved better, so I'll give the game a positive 6.5 out of 10, which is far better than how it fared on release, which got around like 4s out of 10s. Thank you everyone for stopping by and watching the video on Advent Rising on the original Xbox. I appreciate all of you, and if you enjoyed, I would appreciate it if you even liked and subscribed the video and my channel. And thank you everyone, and have a good day.